I'm delighted to say that joining me now is someone who's probably watched it several times, the chairman of the Canaries Trust, Robin Sainty, well-known Norwich fan as well, and EDP columnist. Robin, before we get onto the business about the Canaries Trust and some good news you've got, let's just talk about that press conference yesterday. It's the buzz amongst Norwich fans. What did you make of it?
Well, it's positively Churchillian, wasn't it? It was very, very uplifting. And I mean, considering that it's the guy's second language, I thought he came across better than most English managers would have managed. Yeah, very, very impressive person.
We've got to be careful because I'm as guilty of it as the next man because I'm on Twitter saying it's amazing, but bottom line is he hasn't won a league game yet. We've had a great pre-season, we've won in the cup, but we haven't won a league game yet. Are we getting carried away, or do you really believe this man could bring something special to Norwich?
Well, we are getting carried away, yeah, without any question, because there's no empirical evidence to back up what we're feeling. But it's very difficult not to get swept along with it, isn't it? He just seems to say the right things. We've all seen the new players. I don't think there's a bad signing amongst them. He's clearly got a plan, and the players have clearly bought into that plan. So yeah, I think we've got every reason to be optimistic.
And I saw you chatting with people on Twitter, as I often do, and someone was saying it was blown out of proportion. Nelson, I think you said it probably wasn't blown out of proportion. There needed to be something done because lots of people have, and we'll put our hands up and say, yeah, they've said, the media have made a big thing out of this. I thought personally it was a big talking point. What did you make of the whole thing?
Well, yeah, we were a bit taken aback at Fulham, watching it from the stands, but it was only really when I saw the coverage of it that I realised quite how far it had gone. We obviously knew he'd run across and taken his shirt off, etc., etc. What we didn't realise was that it had sort of carried on. He'd pushed Farker away and had to be pulled away by a couple of players. So, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, having managed football teams myself, you can't have it. You cannot have a player who treats the manager with disrespect publicly. So I don't think it should be swept under the carpet, or we should pretend it wasn't an issue. But it's clearly been dealt with. Farker's again been very impressive, and Oliveira has obviously made a public apology in front of the other players. So job done.
We move on to tomorrow, Sunderland, a big game. Of course, they all are. This is a team that's come down from the Premier League. We've got some old friends there, James Vaughan and Lewis Grabban as well. A tough one, but one that we can really get our teeth into because we're at home. There'll be a great crowd there, and always nice to play Sunderland, a great old club.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I've always had a soft spot for Sunderland ever since the Milk Cup final. There's always been a good relationship between the fans. I've been up to the Stadium Light a few times. Always enjoy games against them. And having watched them, as most people would have last Friday, they didn't look anything to be too worried about. So, yeah, hopefully we kick on from last week.
And there is reasons to be cheerful. There's lots of positivity around. And I'll just tell you about a goal that's gone in. Britos has just scored for Watford in stoppage time. They're in the, fourth minute of stoppage time there. So it's now Watford 3, Liverpool 3. Yeah, but back to the point in hand. Norwich, there is a lot of positivity around. It's your job as Canaries Trust chairman to kind of garner that and feed it back into the club. Have you seen, you've been around a long time, Robin, I'm not going to comment on your age, but like me, you've seen a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. This seems a bit different this time. I don't know what it is. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think what's different about it is that it seems as if everybody has bought into it. In the past, there are always going to be divisions in amongst supporters, inevitably, and obviously if the team isn't doing well, those divisions become greater all the time. But I haven't come across anybody apart from the odd internet troll who just likes winding people up, who doesn't feel optimistic about it. It's incredible, really. It's probably the most together I've known the Norwich fan base to be since Lambert.
Yeah, I agree. And if we have half the success we did with him, we'll be doing all right.
Absolutely.
One promotion, that's all we need. Now then, let's talk about the Canaries Trust, because you've had a really big result this week, haven't you? And you've made a big announcement. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, what we've managed to do is to negotiate the purchase of a significant tranche of shares, 504 ordinary shares, which has taken our overall shareholding on behalf of the fans up to 14th in the list of club shareholders. There are actually 7,000 shareholders in the club. So for the fans to be 14th, we think is pretty good.
And what's the plan going forward? I mean, we're not necessarily saying you want it to be a fan-run club because the majority shareholders are there, but why is it so important that the fans' trust, the Canaries' trust, has such a big shareholding?
It's important because things don't always stay as they are. As you rightly say, we've got tremendous faith in Delia and Michael and also Tom coming through as well. And the club is in good hands as far as we're concerned. But you just never know, do you? You look at what's happened at Portsmouth and other clubs. It's important that the fans have as much representation as possible, and clearly if you're a significant shareholder, you're going to have more voice. And it's also important that they have a stake in the club, because if things do take a turn for worse, and heaven forbid they do at some point in the future, that stake could actually be very important.
And what if people want to get involved in the Canaries Trust? Because there's no limit to how many people you want, is there? I mean, you want as many people as you can to come to the meetings and help out and volunteer and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The point is that the Canaries Trust is primarily there to try and acquire shares on behalf of the fans. That's quite difficult and time consuming. The tranche that I'm just talking about has taken us 15 months of negotiations and toing and froing to get everything nailed down. And all of the trust board are volunteers like me. They've got other things that they're involved with. So the more people we have on board, again, the stronger we become. And it costs £12 a year to be a member of the trust. So.
Bargain.
Yeah, it's definitely a bargain, and we're also now looking at ways in which we can get younger people on board, perhaps having reduced rates for students and so on. We've also brought 3 younger members onto the board: James Mingay, Chris Newby, and Elliot King, who are all very tech savvy. You've probably noticed that the quality of our social media output has improved drastically because we've got people who actually know how computers work. But yeah, we're trying to make the trust relevant to as many Norwich fans as possible.
Fantastic. And as you say, if people want to get in touch, they just go on the website?
Yeah, there's a website which is www.canariestrust.org, and you can join online. You can contact us. There's an email address on there. I'm on Twitter. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me on Twitter. More than happy to deal with anything that comes up.